Hello and welcome. Today, we are going to talk more about what Pulsar Copilot can do to help you get started building and deploying customized apps on the Pulsar for Salesforce platform. Pulsar Copilot is our customized GPT built on OpenAI's ChatGPT. It has been developed as a coding assistant, and today we're going to see how you might use it to build a customized dashboard application. One of the best ways to work with Pulsar Copilot is to give it a detailed design document. A design document, in this context, is a formalized description of the desired application. This can include what it should look like, what tools it should use, and even how it should perform certain tasks. The more detail you can provide, the more likely you are to achieve your desired results out of the box. Let's take a look at a good example of a design document for our dashboard. We've chosen to use Markdown to create this design document. LLMs are very good at extracting context and intent from Markdown files. Putting this same text in a PDF or text file might result in less effective results. We start with an overview of what the dashboard layout should look like. We keep it simple, but we're asking it to do a lot of styling in these few sentences. Next, we describe some assets that we are giving it and where they are located in the project. This will make sure that Copilot will import things from the correct locations and be aware that they are present. Then, we lay out some development guidelines that will assist Copilot in the structure of our application. We'll explain how we want the code to be written and what sort of file structure to use. We also explain some of the requirements we have on the methods that will be used to create reusable component cards that will reside in the dashboard. After that, we detail the three types of card components we would like to develop. A user info card that will display information about the currently logged in user and the last sync time. A generalized counter card that will display various counts of things based on provided queries and labels. An hours card that will display the total hours worked across a given week. We explain in detail how to calculate this value. We should only include service appointments assigned to the current user and look at the duration field for those service appointments. We limit the dates by the scheduled start time. For all of these cards, we also give a default title and icon name. We express the icon as type:"name, since this is how Salesforce organizes its various icon assets. Finally, we provide a description of the cards we'd like to show for this example. A user info card, 2 counter cards with details explaining what counts we should show in each, and an hours card where we explain that we are interested in the current week. We also give titles for each of these cards here. Now let's see what working with Copilot is like when we give it this document. We drop the file into Copilot and ask it to create a component from the following design document. After some thinking, Copilot responds with an overview of its plan. It mentions that it will be building a responsive dashboard that includes 3 types of cards: a user info card, a counter card, and an hours card. Each named is described and placed into a cards directory as outlined in the document. It mentions the component structure, some initial components to create, the tech stack, and some data dependencies. It then asks if we would like to start with the main dashboard loader.html or jump straight into building one of the card components. Let's build the dashboard loader. Let's get started with the main dashboard loader HTML. We'll let Copilot know that that's where we'd like to begin. Copilot begins to describe its plan and then starts to develop the code. In the meantime, we can go and create our index.html file. This is where we will hold this code and ultimately upload it in our Pulsar app bundle. We can watch Pulsar Copilot develop this code and observe that it's going to import our modules that it has yet to create for the user info card, the counter card, and the hours card. And then it will use these to generate our components that it will insert into the dashboard. We'll copy this code now that it's complete and paste it into our index.html and save it. Double checking some of our code here. Things will generally look good. We're seeing our queries, and I think this looks pretty good. Let's start developing the cards. Our dashboard loader should be complete, so we'll close that. and we'll tell Pulsar Copilot to proceed. It's going to give it a minute to build this card code out, so let's go and create our file structure. You know that we're going to need a cards directory and a file called user-info-card.js. This is where this code will reside. This is what we outlined in our design document. And we can see from our Pulsar Copilot that it's planning to place it there, and our index.html also aligns with that. We can take a look at the code here. We can see that it's doing a lot with Salesforce styles, and that we're doing a little bit of work here to get our icon to be built properly, the icon.split. And we're going to get our user info to get the user ID. This code looks pretty good, so we're going to go ahead and copy it and paste it into our user-info-card.js. After Copilot completes its tasks, it tends to give a prompt implying what it wants to do next, or it thinks might be the next step. You can see here that it's asking if we'd like to move on to the countercard.js. This seems like a good idea, so we'll just say yes. In the meantime, we'll build our countercard.js file, which will hold our code, and we can go over here and click on countercard to get the code to show up so we can watch it be developed. You can see it's doing a number of select queries across the service appointment object, which it does comment about, makes an assumption, which we don't love, but we're working together here, so we'll let that slide for now. Maybe it will be fine, maybe it won't. We'll address this later. And now we can see it's going to take these results and build our card with a ton of Salesforce styles and the appropriate icon. It's really taking a lot of the work out on us here by handling all of this styling. You know, we'd have to be reading the Salesforce Lightning design document to get a sense for how all these classes work together. And we're really hoping that Pulsar Copilot's doing that work for us here. So this code looks pretty good. We're going to grab it and paste it into our file. And we will proceed with the hours card next. So let's build the hours card. We'll tell Copilot, yes, let's go ahead and do that. We'll close the counter card, and we'll get ready by creating our hourscard.js file. And now let's take a look at the code that it's developing. You can see that it's doing some fairly complicated math to calculate the days of the week that we've asked it to do. This might take a little bit of time in testing, but Copilot, we're hoping, is doing the job for us. If we look at our design document, you know, we described this in English and it converted it into some fairly complicated math. We can see here that it's going to be correctly grabbing these service appointments that are related to our user through both the assigned resource and service resource junction objects. That all looks pretty good. A bit more math to assign those service appointments to their appropriate days. Here we're building the card. Again, lots of Salesforce classes that Copilot has taken care of for us. And we're also in a very nice try-catch block here, which will still print a card if something were to go wrong. So that all looks pretty good. Go grab this code and paste it into our file. And we can see now that Copilot is pretty much done, and it's asking if we're ready to deploy this. So we will bundle this up in our Pulsar app and upload it to Salesforce and see what we've got. Okay, so we have our dashboard zipped up as a Pulsar app. We've uploaded it to Salesforce, and we've synced and gotten a new copy ready. We've got our Safari web inspector over here set up and ready to debug any issues that we might run into. So let's go ahead and take a look at our dashboard. We'll open this up and see what we've got. We can see we've got no errors in the console, which is a good start. and we've got 4 cards displayed. We can notice immediately that we are missing some icons, and let's take a look at what's going on there. So here we've got our user icon, which is displaying correctly. We'll take a look at that, and that looks fine. Let's take a look at this one, which is here, and we are looking at service underscore appointment. All right, that's not showing up. Let's take a look at this one. This is for our hours card. We've got timesheet underscore entry, and we'll look at our work order statuses here, and we've got work underscore order. So one thing that looks a little fishy here is these all have an underscore in them, and that could be causing a slight issue with displaying these icons. So let's go and ask Copilot what's going on with that. We'll leave it as a general question and try and see if Copilot has an answer for us. We'll just ask if it's got ideas as to why our service appointment, work order, and timesheet entry icons are not displaying. And let's give it a little bit of a hint. Well, let's not. Let's actually just say why. And we can see Copilot gives us several possible issues that it could be. They might have incorrect class names or missing sprite references, or these could be non-standard icons. I don't believe these are non-standard icons, as they're pretty standard Salesforce objects, but we can see that SLES class names for icons like number underscore input should convert underscores to hyphens. Now that seems like maybe kind of the issue here, since that would make sense since all of these have underscores. So let's go ahead and see if we can get Copilot to update these classes to use hyphens instead of underscores. Now we can see a little bit of a goof here in our GPT, as this says this is the hours card, but we can see this is the create counter card that it's editing. So we might have to do a little work to fix that. But we can see we are changing our underscores to hyphens in the icon class right there. So that should be our create counter card. And now it's updating the hours card. And we can see that it's done the same thing to the icon class. And now we're in the create user info card. And once again, it's showing the hours card as the title of this. So this might be a little confusing to fix. So let's see. But here we've got this is our user info card. So we're going to go and update our user info card over here. We'll save that. Let's close this. Okay. So we've got sort of a diff history here. You can see this is the user info card. Let's check this one. I guess this is all the same diff history. So let's go back to a previous version. Yeah, let's check the previous version because this is still user info. Let's see what this looks like. This is the hours card, okay? And then here's the counter card in green. So let's grab the counter card. We'll copy this, go over to our counter card, and we'll paste. And yep, that looks like the correct code. You can see the icon replace is there. Let's find our hours card. This is user info. Here's the hours card. So we'll copy this. Just make sure it's got, yep, okay. We've got our replace, and we'll change that over here, and we'll save that. And now we're ready to rebundle this and take a look at what we've got. And then we'll move on with fixing some of the other issues. All right, we've bundled our dashboard up and updated it on Salesforce. We're ready to take a look at it. So let's see what we've got. Okay, so we can see that our icons are fixed, but we've noticed a few other problems here. We can see that we've got a 1 here, and 1's here, here, and here. That doesn't seem likely to be true. You can also see these cards aren't lined up or the same height, and our hours, this kind of looks bad. It's hard to read. It's kind of clumped. So let's see if we can work on this with Copilot to improve these 3 mistakes. Let's ask it for the counter cards. You're always getting a value of 1. Is there an issue with our query? And let's just ask and see what Copilot says. Now, Copilot is saying that we are using select with a count star, which is likely to result in something like this, just some ones. Pulsar will return a single row with an undefined or incorrect structure, hence the consistent count of 1. So it's giving us a correct usage, which is going to be to use select star and then just use results.length to get the number of results. So let's update our counter card and let our Pulsar Copilot take a stab at it. Now, we can see that it's chosen to do this in the counter card itself, and this is a little strange because we're passing in our queries as it is, and it's going to iterate over them and replace select star count with the appropriate select query. So let's see if we can fix this by just passing in a better query. And Copilot agrees this is the better way to do it. And it gives us some correct queries here and an improvement to counter card as well. So let's go ahead and revert the logic in counter card. Maybe make this change. Let's see if we can just do this ourselves. We'll take a look over here. Well, there's multiple places where this may affect. So let's actually wait on that and see if we can't get Copilot to make all of those changes for us at once. So let's revert the logic and update our dashboard queries. And there's definitely got some issues with ChatGPT here, as it still thinks it's editing the hours card and it's overwriting the same files a lot. That's not really a problem with our code, but we can work with this. So let's let it finish here. We can see that it's updated all of these select queries to be select stars. So we'll copy this and we'll replace our index.html and save it. All of our queries have been updated. That looks right. Now, not that. Let's go and go back to get our counter card code. Here it is. We'll copy that and we'll go and update our counter card logic. We'll save that. So this should now be using the dot results instead of expecting to find the count. So now we're ready to bundle this up and take a look at the solution, but let's actually try and fix the other issues. So the cards in the first row are not the same height. Can we fix that? Let's just ask Copilot if it can just take a stab at that. And it thinks that we can maybe fix this with some simple changes to our dashboard CSS. I'm not confident this will fix it, but let's see what it does. We'll copy this and we'll overwrite our dashboard here. And now let's see if we can have it fix the hours card while we're at it. And here it goes, taking a stab at that. It's just going to update the entire create hours card, hopefully changing some of the CSS and layout to be better. Hard to grasp that at this level. Maybe it will tell us what it's done. Now it's going to use a grid with columns to make it nicer. So that sounds like it could work. So let's bundle this up and see what we have. Copy this. We've updated the dashboard to Salesforce and pushed it up and updated it. So we're ready to take a look at the changes that Copilot has made, hopefully address the 3 issues that we saw. And we can see pretty much right away the hours card no longer looks bad. It looks pretty good. It looks great. The counts on all these seem to have changed. They're now reflecting the correct counts. And our card heights actually are equal between rows, which is what we asked it to do, but we've got this little margin up here that is kind of a problem. So let's take a look at what's going on there ourselves. We'll use the Safari inspector to take a look at what's going on with the CSS. We've got this card here, and we can see there's a margin on this second card and the third and the fourth card as well. Let's see where that's applied. Click into the second card here. We can see there's .slds-card plus .slds-card. So the second, any card after the first card is going to have a margin at the top. And we see if we get rid of this, it looks really good. So that's really what we want. But we can see that this is actually a Salesforce by design. So something about the way that we've laid out our dashboard to use these cards is giving it a little bit of a problem. I think the idea is the cards should stack on top of each other and not be used side by side without some modification. So let's go in and tell Copilot about this particular style and the fact that it is not doing what we want it to do. So we'll inform it of this style and say it's applying a margin above all the cards but the first card. This is causing them to be misaligned. So we'll just tell Copilot about this, and hopefully it can give us a fix. Now, you may have seen some code scroll by here and over on the left side. In doing this, it took me a little bit of time to figure out what was actually the problem. And rather than show all that, I chosen to show the back and forth nature of looking for the problem, informing Copilot, and getting a result. You'll notice there's some changes to the interior card body CSS here that was made based on previous investigations into this problem. But we can see here that .dashboard.slds-card plus .slds-card will remove the margin .top. So that should be the fix we're looking for. Oftentimes when working with Copilot, it will overlook something or not quite catch something, and you're going to have to go in like we just demonstrated with the Safari debugger and take a look at the elements and kind of see what's going on and give it a little nudge, give it a little hint. Certainly we could have added that ourselves as we were able to identify, here's the problem, but it's pretty cool to see Copilot able to solve it too with just a little bit of a hint. So this code is ready, and let's make these changes and see how things are. We've updated Salesforce once more with our new bundled Pulsar app, the changes to our index.html. So let's take a look. And sure enough, that took care of the styling issue with the margins at the top. And this looks phenomenal. So I think this is a pretty great example of how we can start with a design document such as this and get exactly what we asked for. We can see our service appointment counts in progress and dispatched. We've got our work order statuses for new, in progress, and cannot complete, and our hours card, which if we checked these against the database, we'd find them to be correct. And we got our user info card as well. So this is a pretty great example of how you can work with Copilot from a design document to achieve some pretty splendid results. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for watching. For more information, visit our website at luminexinc.com or send an email to sales@luminexinc.com.